Which position group will be the most surprising this season? Who's it gonna be?
Jose.
It's always Sanchez.
Like the Price is Right.
Come on down. Oh my God, I wasn't prepared. Where are my notes? Hold on. I'm gonna go against the grain here, and I think I'm gonna be more of the optimist for once and say I think it's gonna be that right side of the offensive line. I think it's from center to right guard to right tackle. Let's just start from the least polarizing character, Alex Mack. I think that's gonna be a nice boost. I'm not saying he's like anywhere near the player he was, like 4 or 5 years ago, but I figure at least you got the brains there, a little more consistency. You hope. You could probably say maybe he's going to start being injury prone, but it's not like he really has too much on his resume. But you never know at that age, especially with the way his career is going more on a downward slope. And then the right guard, Aaron Banks, if he does truly intend to be, or if the 49ers do truly intend to move him to that right guard spot, I think it's a massive upgrade from Brunskill or anyone that's there. Get someone that finally settle in there, get that nice firm body in there just so he can move around, just start be a nice bully nose in there. And maybe that even rubs off on the last player I mentioned, Mike McGlinchey, who was softer than tissue last year. I mean, the guy couldn't stand up for anything to save his life. So hopefully this year, this is bounce back year, which I think it can be. I think the limited pictures that 49ers have released, he actually looks a lot bulkier. I don't know if you saw him out there on the field, Grant. Maybe he does look a little bulkier from those images that I saw. Maybe it's not true, whatever. But I think this is the year he maybe wants to use that offseason, because I feel like he really needed the offseason just to hit that reset button, get more right mentally, because I feel like that was the thing that really hurt him the most other than losing weight and a little bit of technique. Is that guy was just mentally all over the place. He'd go lash out on Twitter, the media, and take things so personal. Like, why are you worried about us, man? Go worry about the goddamn game. Like, go worry about you, before you worry about anyone else. So I think this year he finally gets it down and puts a lid on things.
I think it's going to be the offensive line as well. That's the group. I kind of said this a couple of weeks ago. I think the offensive line is the one that's going to surprise people. You've got, Alex Mack is going to be, I think, going to make a big difference, and then the right guard also with Aaron Banks. If he plays and looks the way that he did at Notre Dame, he's going to be a big improvement for the pass protection. It's interesting when you look at the numbers there for the offensive line. They actually reduced their percentage of sacks per attempt last year from the year before. So it's one of those situations where if you get a good right guard, that's going to be the position that's kind of, even in 2019 when they went to the Super Bowl, that right guard position was the one that gave them the biggest fits and is part of the reason why they end up losing the Super Bowl. So if Aaron Banks is the guy that they expect to be, he's going to probably make all the difference in that group, because you've already got a really good left tackle. Your left guard's probably the weakest position now on the line and everywhere else. McGlinchey's going to be who McGlinchey is. That you're not going to see a big change from him. But I think he's going to be helped a little bit by Trey Lance if he's the quarterback.
The key word of this question is surprising, and I'm going to go with the unit that I also have the most concerns with, and it's going to be the secondary. If you look at Jason Verrett and Emmanuel Mosley, if they're both able to play a complete 17-game season, that's surprising. And in the events that they go down, you have two upside cornerbacks behind them with the 2 draft picks, Diamador Lenore, Ambry Thomas. If those guys can step in, if either of them go down and hold down the outside cornerback spots, that's a huge win. And that would be very much a surprise. And you look at the safety and the safety depth with Jimmy Ward and Tart, possibly Tart starting, who knows, with Tony Jefferson coming in. They signed Wilson from the Lions. And there's a lot of bodies in that secondary. The cornerback, you have K'Wan Williams, outside corners, the safeties. There's a lot of potential there, and I wouldn't be surprised if they have such a strong season that they kind of really balance out the pass rush. If the pass rush takes a step back, they carried the secondary in 2019. It wouldn't surprise me to see the secondary outplay the pass rush a little bit in 2021. So that's the unit I'm going to go with, the secondary.
Stole all my fire, Nick. But because I think that, most people are really down, and I'm going to go specifically the cornerbacks. Most people are saying there's no depth there. If Verrett or Mosley goes down, the 49ers season is going to be over and all this kind of stuff. I think that everybody's going to be really surprised because they're not seeing how much talent is there in guys like Ambry Thomas. I think that, when you look at the cornerback depth last season, we had Ahkello Witherspoon, and we had, I forget that one guy that just got
Brian
bombed
Allen.
on all the time.
Brian Allen.
Yeah, Brian Allen, right? It wasn't.
Boy.
It wasn't like there was a bunch of like super depth then. And I think Ambry Thomas is an upgrade. I think Lenore is going to be an upgrade because they bring a different type of mentality to the cornerback position than those two that I mentioned before. And along with the way that the defensive line has upgraded, I think it's going to play into the fact that these guys are really aggressive press man type cover corners, which the 49ers really haven't had in abundance. And now we have 3 or 4 of those type of corners that could be in the rotation. And I think you're going to see a lot more interceptions this year and a lot more just consistent play out of the cornerbacks, regardless of who's on the field.
All right, I'm gonna try to say something different. You guys made some good cases. I'm gonna go with the defensive line. I think the expectations for the defensive line are high. I think people feel like with Bosa coming back, year 2 of Kinlaw, maybe last year was a fluke from Eric Armstead. Get him back on the interior. He's going to be good. This is going to be a dominant defensive line again. Well, I'm not sure what to expect from Nick Bosa. First year off a torn ACL, that's pretty significant. He didn't have a ton of sacks his rookie year, his freshman year at Ohio State, coming off a torn ACL. What if he has 6 sacks this year instead of 9 or 10? And then I really don't expect Javon Kinlaw to have a big sack season, neither with Armstead. I mean, what if Samson Ebukam is the guy who has the most sacks? What if it's like 5 sacks, 5 sacks, 5 sacks, 8 sacks from their 4 top guys? That would be a little bit less than people expect, although it's still pretty good. It's still going to be a good defensive line with depth, but it may not be like this dominant resurgence of what it was a couple years ago. I'm just trying to say something different. You guys made really good cases. Don't rip me to shreds. I'm trying. I don't know. I'm specifically Nick Bosa. I'm curious to see what he does coming off that ACL.
Mm-hmm.
Great. You know, I was just thinking like the other day too. Maybe I think this defensive line strength might switch from an edge more to an interior thing because of, you know, you got Kevin Givens there. I'm really high on Maurice Hurst. I think he's going to be a nice booster there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Eric Armstead getting inside, Javon Kinlaw, DJ Jones. They got a lot into. That's what I'm talking about.
They're like 7 deep on the interior. Yeah.
Exactly. So where the edge used to be like, oh, the edge is the bread and butter, and then you always have Buckner, Armstead wrecking havoc there. I think now the interior is going to be more like the bread and butter there, especially because, you know, Ford, he's automatically, I can't count on him. Bosa, definitely, you don't know how he's going to be. Ebukam, maybe he'll have a sweet year. Maybe he'll still be just a solid player. But I just think it's going to be the interior. I just have a lot of faith in just it's almost like I'm just saying, maybe I'm taking the odds, the law of numbers at this point, just because there's so many good quality talent there. You know, Chris Kaserik could probably boost up these other players that they have there or they just added. And I think the interior might be where the way they go. Maybe they even start blitzing down there to really put the pressure on there and add Fred Warner. And all of a sudden, offenses can't account for that.